Greetings, friends. I'm glad you could join me today. It's June 21st, longest day of the year. We're now moving into Cancer, my time of the year. I love the intensity of the sun. It's burning me right now, but I had to do this video out here and take advantage of this fine day. I'm testing out a new camera here and a microphone that has a windsock, so we'll see if that actually helps blot out the wind noise. You know, Toronto's a windy city. You can't get away from the wind. There's some wind, so we'll find out if that makes any noise. But today I'm glad you could join me. You know, I don't release videos every day because I try to think about something that actually inspires me, so I can't put out videos every day. But I've been thinking, you know, and part of the problem is I read all these different subjects and there's lots of things I'd like to talk about, but not really anything I've developed enough. But I've been thinking, you know, it just struck me today that, okay, here's a good thought. Here's something I agree with, something that maybe not inspires me, but something that I feel strongly about, and it has to do with superficiality. And I think that obviously we have a lot of superficial people in today's world. Maybe it's always been like that. And for whatever, you know, if it's a new thing, if it's an old thing, it doesn't matter. The thing is that superficial people, I think, are empty on the inside. Now, I mean, they're not going to be happy in the end. I think it's okay to have self-respect. It's okay to express yourself. Some people are more expressive than others. Some people like to wear, you know, designs and colorful clothing, and you know, that's okay. But I think maybe you could agree with me. There is a certain point where you cross the line and it becomes pride. Nothing wrong with a certain amount of pride, like pride for your culture, but when it becomes that like overly proud of yourself, overly proud, and you're no longer exercising humility. So I think to be humble is to embrace everlasting life. Not to be humble is to embrace death. Figuratively speaking, I don't necessarily mean literally, maybe in some cases. So you need to have a level head, in other words. And I think some things are more intriguing when they only show you hints, or when they're completely hidden. Of course, maybe that wouldn't be intriguing. Only the wise men would recognize something of deep quality, something ancient, something eternal. Only the wise men would recognize that. Because they can see past the veil. Because what is this world if not a hologram, partly illusory? It's not the real world, it's a projection from heaven or from some other dimension, and it's a real world, but that is not the source of our life is not, it does not have its wellspring in this world. Just like morality doesn't have its wellspring in this world, it has its wellspring in the beyond, in the cosmic world, where there is no real time, where everything is one moment now, everything connected together. Even your other lives are occurring right now, but I'm getting beyond the point here. So it has to do with humility. Sometimes things are intentionally ugly, so that only the experienced people will recognize them. Sometimes things have to hide. Sometimes it's better to hide a little bit. Okay, now, for example, the suit. I've talked about the suit in the past kind of negatively. I'm not actually using the suit as an example for something which is superficial. It's a different thing. It's more like a uniform in most cases. Why has the suit been such a fashionable article of attire for men for such a long, for what, more than 2 centuries now, or at least more than 150 years? Because the way it works, it draws your eye in, I guess if it's appealing to the woman, but you know, to men too. There's nothing gay about that. It's just you're drawn to the fact that it's open, and then there's a shirt, and then there's a tie, and maybe the tie's buttoned up, maybe it's on, maybe not the tie, I mean maybe the collar's buttoned up, maybe it's open, but you have those layers, right? So it's showing you an opening. So maybe I'm getting beyond my my point here because I wanted to talk about superficial stuff. I'm going to give you some examples here. So maybe these examples are going in different directions. Maybe this is too vague. Maybe this is too broad. But the general guideline here is superficiality is a sign of having nothing on the inside. A sign that you're not happy, you're not full on the inside. And you won't get what you want in the end. You'll get death. Maybe not literally, but figuratively, you'll be accepting death. So in the Indiana Jones movie, The Last Crusade, I was talking about that movie in a previous video. And it's a great series from the 80s when they still made good movies. And at the end of that movie, Indiana Jones, he finds the Holy Grail. And before he chooses the Grail, or he doesn't know exactly which one to choose, because the knight who's been guarding it for centuries tells him, he says, choose wisely, for the true Grail will bring life, but the false Grail will take it from you. And of course, the bad guy goes in before Indiana Jones, and he gets the doctor, the woman, to choose, because he doesn't know, he doesn't have any historical knowledge, he's not a spiritual person, he's a carnal person. And of course, she chooses one of the most beautiful cups for him, with all these diamonds and gold on it, and it's such a beautiful Grail, and he says it's the most beautiful thing ever. Of course it must be the source of everlasting life, and he drinks from it. Of course he dies instantly. And then Indiana Jones has to find the Grail, because he has to rescue his dad who's been shot, and the only way he can tell is to drink from it. And he chooses the Grail, which is the cup of the carpenter, as he says. You know, the common man, or the hard-working, humble man who works by his own. Maybe there's an association with wood there. I don't know. I haven't done my homework on wood, but something about wood, you would think that it's there's a spiritual connection with wood, and it's the organic power of wood. I mean, I guess you could say that about different substances, but and this Grail he chooses is the most ugly. It's got stains. It looks kind of corroded. It's the least appealing of all the Grails, and he knows that this is the source of everlasting life. Now, I don't say that's an example for all situations in life, but there's you know, some metaphor there. There's some example there that I found very persuading as a kid. When I saw it, you can't really interpret it and analyze it that well as a kid. So with that in mind, in society, what are the false Grails? I'm going to give different examples, so they're going to be probably hit and miss. But with false Grails, we can think of different characteristics. It might just be sensuousness. We might just be drawn to sensuous things and forgetting that the sensuous things are just of this world, and that's leading us astray when we're focused just on the physical world with all the sensuousness of, you know, dazzling, nice perfumes, that kind of stuff. It's leading us astray. The other characteristic, it might be symbolic of social status. So there might be the status symbols. Maybe those are sensuous, maybe not. I mean, it could be both. It could be, or it might not be. Maybe something which you actually find ugly is actually a status symbol, and you gotta have it, but not for the right reasons, of course. And then the third characteristic would be symbols which aren't necessarily of a higher social status. They might be symbols of a subculture or some other culture you want to belong to, but you really haven't, you don't deserve those symbols. Who am I to judge you? But you know in your heart, if you really thought about it, that you don't deserve those symbols. You haven't earned them. You don't know what you're doing. So what am I talking about? What am I going off on? Let's get to some real examples here. Jewelry, diamonds, watches. I've talked about precious metals. Those are valuable. Those are smart to own. Flaunting them is a whole other question. And in fact, flaunting them could bring you bad luck because people might want to steal it from you. People know more about you. People might resent you for that. Now, fair enough. Those are all worldly things. Maybe you shouldn't be concerned too much about well, you have to be concerned about worldly things to an extent, but you have to realize where your heart is. right? Are you acting out with a full heart when you flaunt physical jewelry, especially when it's diamonds? Because unlike precious metals, diamonds have no real use. Now that's not technically true. They can be used in power saws. They're really hard. They're good for cutting, but it's not like precious metals where, I mean, yes, you can resell a diamond, but a diamond is pretty much the only reason they're mined is not for electronics. There's some industrial uses, but mainly it's for vanity. That's why these diamonds are mined. Usually it's women who wear these diamonds, so you're just very superficial. And then of course watches, nice watch. I mean, it's okay if you have a little cheap plastic watch. And okay, I'm not again, I might sound like I'm moralizing here, maybe a little bit, but you know, watches, fancy, we don't need them anymore. They're not useful. So it's essentially a piece of jewelry. It's kind of like a social symbol of status. It's kind of like a high status. Maybe some people are just used to having watches, like my dad. You know, he might have a watch because he's many decades older than I am. So. But for younger guys, they just want to get these fancy silver watches, gold watches. There's no real use because you have your phone. It's not like you need it for the time. You wear it on your wrist. Who wants to wear some heavy item on your wrist anyways? Cars. Cars are obviously practical, but the kind of cars where it's okay, nothing wrong with having a nice fancy sports car, but you know it, I know it, that most people get these things not because they're going to be racing, or even they don't even know how to race. They might get in a car accident. If you're really into that and you want to go really fast and you worked really hard and to make money to buy a sports car, then that's great. But I just don't think 90% of the people get these things for those reasons. They get them because it's a status symbol. It gets you from point A to point B, just like a shitty car does. Maybe it lasts longer, but again, if you got to get it maintained, it's gonna cost you more. It's going to attract more attention to you. You're going to have to spend more time securing that car. You're going to have to watch where you park it. And then, you know, the basic thing is these cars, it's just a shell. It's just a metal shell around the engine. You don't even see the most valuable thing about the car is the engine. And you don't even see that because it's covered in the nice shell. The nice shell of the car, that's what gives it its social value. That's what gives it its its status symbol. That's what people want because they're superficial. So the car is a good example. It's just got this superficial. Superficial is something, you know, like a shell. So the car is nice cars are a good example of that. Not to say we shouldn't have nice cars, but you know that's why most people are buying them, for vanity, for superficial reasons. Tattoos. Okay, now I know it's shaping up that with every example I bring up, I have to use a bit of moderation here because I know there's reasons these things exist. They're not necessarily bad, but when it comes to tattoos, it's a different thing if you just have 1 or 2 tattoos, or maybe you can cover it up. Tattoos have always been marks of criminals or pirates or subcultures, criminal subcultures. I have a good friend that's in a rock. He will be again in a rock band. He's in between bands, but he has some tattoos, not too much though, and he knows. He told me himself that it's one thing to have a few tattoos that you can cover up. It's another thing to cover your whole arm and your neck and just all these parts of your body in tattoos. That's very superficial. Some people who are artists, they would disagree with me, fine. But I mean, why would you write on your body? Like, your body is not a piece of paper to make a painting. Your body was given to you by God. Why wouldn't you love your body? Wouldn't you cherish it? Why do you want to change it? Why do you want to alter it as if it's not good enough? Those tattoos are going to get bleached. The colors are going to fade. All the colors are going to, you can get just a black tattoo. That's simple. But then people get all these different colors. Even when it's new, I'm looking at your arm down the street. It looks like you have gangrene. It looks like your arm is rotting. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you see a lot of women have tattoos. It looks disgusting. It looks ugly. Not even 10 years, 10, 15 years. Look at those tattoos. It all blends together. It makes your arm look black, like covered in charcoal or something. with gangrene. That's what it looks like. So you ruined your arm. You ruined your body that God gave you, this perfect body to cherish, and you weren't happy with that. Plastic surgery, what can I say? It's mostly women. I mean, that's something that you may actually get death if you embrace too much of that. It's not healthy for you to pump your face full of chemicals, put silicone in your breasts. It's, you know, even if it's not healthy physically, I mean, even if it's not physically unhealthy, it can't be mentally healthy. It can't give you a sustained sense of confidence over any long time. It's a big business. They're making money off of it. Don't believe all these doctors who encourage you to just get this little operation done. But you should know better. It's not sending the right message that you have anything on the inside. It's sending the message that you have nothing on the inside. You're just a fuck toy, basically. Lumberjack beards for city slickers, for these millennial guys, okay? Beards are fine. Nothing wrong with a beard. But I'm gonna call the millennials on this. You don't deserve that fucking beard. You're not, because it's not a normal beard. It's a crazy lumberjack beard. If you live in a outside a city, you get a free pass. You get a free pass. If you're not a millennial, you get a free pass. But okay, it's not just the beard. You look at how they're dressed. You know, and they're dressed in all this hipster clothing. You gotta be fucking kidding me. No, you don't deserve that. I don't deserve the beard, so I don't have one. Okay? I don't deserve a beard because I'm a city slicker. I'm a millennial, so I shave my fucking face. Okay, everyone can have a beard, but it's a different thing when you have this crazy lumberjack beard. I don't believe whatever you're trying to communicate there. You know, you can have your lumberjack beard, and then of course, a lot of their haircuts, it's like well cropped at the top. What the fuck is that? It's well cropped. Style, maybe they even gelled it up, and then they got this huge fucking lumberjack beard. I understand kids do stylish things, but some of these guys are in their late 20s. Some of them are in their 30s. Grow up. Obviously, I don't wear a lot of designs. I don't wear a lot of colorful clothing. I like certain colors here and there. There's nothing wrong with it. Someone likes colorful clothing. That's not necessarily superficial. Maybe that's just their wavelength. Maybe they just feel comfortable wearing bright colors a lot of the time. It's kind of strange, I think, to wear so many bright colors. But you know, everyone has their colors. But when you start moving into a status symbol or some other subculture symbol that you don't really deserve, or just something overly sensuous, oh, maybe bright colors are kind of sensuous too, but you know, something over the top like that, that's when you're superficial, that's when you're vain. That's when you're embracing, figuratively, death. You're not embracing everlasting life. That's not a sign of a humble person. You're not trying to hide. Should we all be hiding and meek? No, but that's just being moderate. Moderate is hiding some of you. Being moderate is hiding like wearing the suit. And I'm not a fan of the suit, but the suit was it blended moderation with a bit of hiding on the inside. Respectable, but okay, there's something there. If it's a well-tailored suit and you're a well-dressed man, I mean, maybe you aren't that kind of working class person anyways. I'm not idealizing the working class. I'm just saying that they're not into this superficial stuff so much from what I've seen. I don't like all the Portuguese guys in my neighborhood. I mean, I don't hate them. I don't love them. But you know, they're they don't learn English. They're loud, but let me tell you this: I respect them a lot because they're real. They're not superficial. They just you see them coming home from work. They work a ton of a lot, way more than any lumberjack beard millennial. Okay, well, maybe I've spoken too much there, but you know, they work their asses off. They are replacing us here in Toronto. I know they're replacing us white guys, white English speaking guys. But whatever, you know, and they smoke cigarettes, they drink, and but it's all real. Maybe they might have tattoos too. You know what? They're real. If they have tattoos, they earned it. They deserve it. I don't have any doubts as to the authenticity of their whatever I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? Okay. Meditating in public, in a park. Meditating in public when you could easily find another place to meditate. No, I haven't seen anyone do this. Maybe it is probably not a common thing. But I did read an article within the last year. Some white guy wrote this article, and he's a downtown guy because he was meditating in some downtown park, I believe. But it was definitely some park in the city, and some teenagers threw rocks at him, threw pebbles at him when he was and he was acting all offended in this article. And I guess you could be offended, but that's kind of fucking funny, man. I kind of think that's funny that kids threw stone at this guy for I guess he was doing silent meditation. If you're chanting, that would be even funnier. I mean, come on, man. Of course. What are you trying to make it's like praying in public. It's like giving alms so that everyone can see what you're doing. Bullshit. Bullshit. Just like Luther said, our salvation comes from in here, not from anything we do. What we do is not to be neglected, but that naturally comes from a fullness of heart, what he calls faith. And so this guy meditation is not prayer. That's not necessarily religious or even spiritual, but still, you're meditating in a park, in public. I mean, there's no one here. I could be meditating here, and you know what? I wouldn't do that. You could be quiet, you could hang out, you could chill, you could watch the sky, but meditating, I'm not going to start meditating here. I can do that at home, for goodness sakes. So I'm glad that some people threw pebbles at him, or rocks. Maybe they even hit him on the head. Okay, maybe that wouldn't be very polite. And the guy writing the article, he could have taken a more lighthearted attitude, but the fact that he's offended about what happened, that just shows you the kind of person he is in the first place. If you're really at peace and you meditate a lot, people might still notice you and be annoyed with you, but you wouldn't get so offended. And I think you might just be luckier, like people wouldn't throw stones at you just for some crazy reason that I don't know, but I just think it has to do with your vibration, but that's another story. Yeah, hip-hop music or rap music, whatever it's called these days. Never really liked that music. The beats can be okay, so that's all right. But let's be honest, like most of the lyrics are very superficial. It's just singing about nigga this, nigga gonna get my piece and do that, and don't fuck with me, nigga. Get some bitches, yeah. What a wonderful lesson. What a wonderful example you are. What a shining example of humanity. You're just a teenager. You might be a man. I mean, you might be in your 20s or your 30s, but you're effectively a teenager for life until you live that lifestyle and destroy your brain on drugs, or you end up in jail, or you end up dead. There's some overlap here, and not everyone's going to agree. And then there's these different aspects. Some of it's just sensuousness. Some of it's status symbols, some of it's just subculture symbols. And there can be overlap between those things. Two more examples. Facebook or other social media sites. Two specific examples from that would be, the profile picture and the status update. I've spoken of social media before. I don't have to go on at too much length here, but I'll just briefly summarize that. Why would you want to show your face? I mean, okay, it is your profile. I don't like to show my face in a profile picture because I don't like the idea of being cataloged by face. I just don't like it. But maybe it's not so much the profile picture itself. It's what people do with it. They continually change it. They even ask people like, how does this look if I'm looking like this? Or it's women or transgender men or who knows. But it's not most straight men, we can say, but what are you doing? Why would you want to? Why would you? Who do you think you are? Do you think you're a model? Do you think you're an actress or an actor? And then the status updates. Maybe that's pushing it a little far. Maybe that's not exactly is it superficial? But it's part of the same package. Here's what I'm doing now. I'm going out to the store. This is what I'm having for dinner. Here's my dinner. Here's my my dog, my cat. Here's the beach. Here's the hotel. Here's the bed. Maybe some of the things when you're traveling are pretty cool. Maybe. But if you go on posting these things time and time again, we all know you're just a superficial person. You're not a humble person. You probably aren't comfortable being alone with yourself and your own thoughts. You need validation. Aha! So it is superficial. Validation. You want people to view your stuff, like your stuff on Facebook, because they're supposed to like your stuff, because it's fake, because it's your friends. It's not like YouTube where who knows what's going to happen. Yeah, no, YouTube's a bit different, or other, online video sites. Facebook is mostly for emotional validation, for females or for men with female minds tending in that direction. And then lastly, there's this YouTube channel called Secure Team, which I used to watch, and it's with this guy, I think his name is Tyler, and he features UFO content mostly, it's mostly like videos of unidentified flying objects, maybe some other strange stuff too, but mostly the UFO thing. And I've watched a lot of his videos in the past. I thought it was pretty cool, and then I learned from courtesy of John Razimus, but then I looked this up and other people have talked about this too, but I have to thank John Razimus. He blew the whistle that Secure Team has used a lot of fake photoshopped images or just other sorts of tricks to put out a lot of fake stuff. Maybe not all the stuff that Secure Team puts out is fake, but a lot of it has been altered. A lot of it's sent to Tyler, and maybe he might not know, but apparently he might be doing some of it himself. So he's at worst knowingly dishonest, and at best he's been duped, but he's not being very rigorous. Got some fucking cotton in my eye or whatever that is. So yeah, the rigorous people, the people doing their jobs, the people who are sincere, you're probably not going to hear about them. You will hear about them if you're really motivated and you go after them and you're looking for this stuff. Seeking you shall find. But no, Secure Team, they have over 1 million. He has over 1 million subscribers and counting, and he's putting out a lot of fake stuff. So that's just some food for thought. I know these are some far-ranging examples from society. You might not agree with all of them, but there is this superficiality, whether it's a new thing, whether it's an old thing. Remember, nothing wrong with having self-respect, a little pride, nothing wrong with expressing yourself, but keep a level head. Remember to be humble. Remember that all things come from God. Remember that this sensuous world, the human society with all of its symbols, is still very illusory. It's a world of the veil. It's the carnal world. The real world is beyond. It's giving us our life. It's giving us our strength every day. Be grateful for that. Give thanks for that every day. And you shall have everlasting life. Hasta luego, amigos.